Good afternoon, honorable members, our HOD and all the officials. I'm requesting Honorable Pisa to open with a prayer.
Honorable Chairperson, the honorable members, HOD and the team from DOE, bengisacela sivala amehlo sikhuleke. Siyabonga uNkulunkulu wethu ngethuba elihle kangaka usinikeza lona ukuhlangana. Uxoxe indaba zokuthuthukisa abantu bakithi kakhulukazi abantwana kulesi sifundazwe. Sipheka ukuhlakanipha nokuthula okudlula ukuqonda konke. Sicela konke lokho egameni elihle leNkosi yethu Jesu Kristu eyafa yavuka. Amen.
I'm welcoming all the honorable members, HOD and all the staff officials amongst us. You are all welcome to the meeting. I wish to request that Honorable Pisa chair for me. I'm just from the doctor's rooms now. I've got a sore throat. I hope that will be accepted, but I'll attend the meeting up to the end. Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, the officials from the department and the officials of the legislature. May we start our meeting. You are all welcome. And thank you for being available. Do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yes, we do have some apologies. First one is from our coordinator, Kuku Tuwe, who's not well and could not join us. And also Honorable Mavimbela, who's not in today. The last one is Honorable Hatebe, who was a clash in joining another meeting. I'm not sure if our cluster manager has other apologies. Thank you.
Thank you. May we move to the next item, constitution of the meeting. Do we, Honorable Masigo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon to your good self, Honorable members and the department. Honorable Chair, I will request at some point to shift to the virtual platform. Yes, I have a long drive and I'm having a problem with my eyes these days, so I need to be safe. Thank you, Chair.
No, it's noted, Honorable Member. Thank you. Do we have a quorum? We are properly constituted? May we move to the next item, the adoption of the agenda. Honorable Mkhize. The adoption of the agenda.
Chair, my hand was never up. But
Oh no, I thought it's up.
I do move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Gwabe. Any seconder? Honorable Madonsela.
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you, colleagues. May we move to the next item, the adoption of the briefing minutes on the 12th of September 2025. Page 1, page 2, page 3. Any proposal to adopt the minutes? Honorable Masigo.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I move for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of what transpired in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. The next set of minutes of the 23rd of September, Honorable Mkhize.
Chair, I know I'm a stepchild of this committee, but can I please have at least an agenda on hard copy of the agenda? Thank you very much. Bawafihlile, ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
Colleagues, the minutes of the meeting that we had on the 23rd of September. The set of those minutes. Page 1. It's quite a thick document. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Any proposal to adopt the minutes? Honorable Matondo.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of the meeting.
Thank you, Honorable Matonsela.
Thank you, Chair. Seconded.
Thank you, colleagues. Let us move to the next item. I do not know whether the Honorable MEC has connected virtually. HOD.
I don't think he has connected virtually yet.
Okay, no, thank you. We will skip the MEC remarks. We will go to item 7, departmental reports, 7.1, HOD.
Honorable Chair, and greetings to the honorable members as well. The first report is supposed to be done by Treasury. as per the resolution of this committee that they will be invited.
My apologies. Kunjalo-ke ukuthi uzala ubugijima. Who will be doing the presentation from Treasury? They've joined online.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chair. It's Mr. Mudley from Provincial Treasury. I'll be doing the presentation. I'm not sure whether someone is going to share it from your side or must I share it? Okay, someone is sharing it. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, just in terms of what the section 18 is.
Sorry, may you please introduce yourself and your team if you are with other colleagues.
No problem. Sorry, Chair. I'm Santanu Mudli. I'm the Provincial Accountant General for Provincial Treasury. I don't have any colleagues with me here because I was asked to present alone. Can I continue, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, just in terms of what the Section 18 is, basically the Section 18 says Provincial Treasury must intervene by taking appropriate steps, which may include the withholding of funds to address serious or persistent material breach of this Act by a provincial department or a provincial public entity. So currently, the Section 18 only pertains to supply chain management and specifically to procurement. So the department, that is education, would require provincial treasury approval for all procurement, excluding the procurement relating to any procurement relating to conditional grants and emergency procurement of less than 50,000. Can I have the next slide, please? So just the financial position of the department, this was done about a month ago. So we had prior year unpaid commitments of 508 million. We had accruals and payables of approximately 656 million. Unfortunately, the final balance is not known because while Provincial Treasury and Education were doing the exercise to identify accruals, we found a lot of missing accruals. But currently, we have a team at Education trying to finalize the numbers. We have payments on our basic accounting system of 900 million. These are payments that are sitting on the system. They're approved for payment, but the department doesn't have sufficient funds to release it from the bank. We also have fixed costs. Those would be rentals, security, CETA, and various municipal costs. And we're projecting that to be about 760 million till year end. And we also have certain unrecorded liabilities of about 300 million. So the harsh reality is that currently the department does not have the funding to settle all these amounts. Next slide, please. So we were in discussion with the Department of Education to find out what exactly were the LTSM requirements. So the department requires to transfer to schools to approximately 480 million, and they need central procurement of 730 million. That takes us to a total requirement of the department of 1.2 billion. Next slide, please. So about 2 weeks ago, the MEC of Finance and the MEC of Education had a meeting and they agreed to the following. The matric improvement program would be allowed to continue, and that's not to exceed 60 million. Cost relating to final matric exams, not to exceed 295 million. And in terms of LTSM specifically, provision of stationery to schools, not to exceed 496 million. The department has negotiated with the service provider to delay certain payments. However, there is a risk that the department will double its accruals and payables at year end. This is a serious risk, and the accounting officer of education needs to consider this very, very carefully. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's our summary of the basically where we stand with LTSM. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Colleagues, I am of the view that we do the inputs after our presentation so that we'll try to save time. May we move to the second item, 7.2.
Sorry, Chair. 7.2, Chair, will be we will be led by the Chief Financial Officer, Umisiali Joy. She's going to be leading us on financials.
Nondyebo. Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Greetings to the honorable members of the Education Portfolio Committee. Greetings to the HOD, greetings to the colleagues, and greetings to all the members as well that are on the virtual platform. The second quarter financial report is as at the 30th of September 2025 in terms of where the department was in terms of its finances. And as previously we have been reporting, we will be showing changes in the second quarter around the performance of the budget by looking at the main appropriation and also the performance of the budget in terms of the programs and the economic classification, in terms of what has been exclusively and specifically allocated, the conditional grants and infrastructure. We'll also take through the committee in terms of what we have in terms of our vacancies and the cash resources and the measures that have been implemented by the department. If we go to slides 4, we start at the year-end fiscal position when we close the year, where it's showing the accumulated unauthorized expenditure and as well as those accruals and payables that were carried over. Honorable members, we always start at this point because it does impact us in the current financial year, and as well as per the previous presenter, the PAG, to indicate the accruals that are impacting the availability of cash in the financial year, in the current financial year. So with this, is also just always as a reminder in terms of the key assumptions, in terms of where we started from on slides 5, where we are indicating in terms of the growth of our equitable share, it grew by 5.4% as opposed to the 7% that would have allowed us to cover the increments in terms of the wage agreement and in terms of the pay progression. The combined cost for these was 3.2 billion, and we only received as a department 497 million rands, and the rest came through then as a shortfall. The appropriation of the department changed in the second quarter, where we received on the 30th of July, as shown on slide 6, the approval of the rollover for the conditional grant of the LPID, where we received an amount of 3.3 million, which was approved by the Provincial Treasury. And this was for IT equipment that was ordered in the previous financial year and delivered during the 2025-2026 financial year. If we go to slide 7, this is where we get to have a look in terms of our performance, in terms of the overall budget. As per the benchmark, normally around about this time, the department should be sitting at 50%, but we are currently sitting at the percentage of 49.4%. And this is largely due to the enforced cost cutting measures that are actually being implemented to deal with the carry-through costs, and as well as the invoking of the Section 18, as explained by the Provincial Accountant General, to slow down the spending of the department, to slow down the orders. And we will see as we progress in the presentation the types of items that have been allowed by Provincial Treasury in terms of the procurement. If we look at slides 8, this is where we have depicted the picture in terms of the program. And we see that in terms of the overall expenditure of 49.4%, and in monetary terms, it is at 32 billion rands, 32.9. The program that is showing the over expenditure is in public ordinary schools, which is under programs 2 at 1.2 billion. All the other programs are showing an under expenditure, and this is all relating to the reasons provided in slide 7, because we have enforced cost-cutting measures so that we are able to deal with some of the over expenditure during the year. So the next slides are then going into detail in terms of each program, and we see in slides 9 and 10 where we're looking at programs 1, and the main reason in this program is that we have in terms of the filling of the posts as resulting from attrition, we are not filling these posts, and this is what is largely contributing to the under expenditure of this program as we are projecting at year end. In terms of programs 2 on slides 11 and on slides 12, we can see for this program the overall is an over expenditure anticipated at 1.2 billion, and it's mainly around, if we see on slides 11, around the compensation of employees at 1.4 billion, and this is largely, as explained earlier, resulting from the unfunded wage agreement, and this is where a bulk of the posts, more especially for educators, are sitting in this particular program. So with this program, we are anticipating an over expenditure as a result of that. For programs 3 and programs 4, between slides 13 and slides 16, we are also anticipating an under expenditure, and this is mainly because of the lesser or reduced learner numbers as per the final resource targeting list, where initially what we had budgeted for was higher, but the current lists do not include the undocumented learners, but we are seeing an anticipated under expenditure as we proceed towards year end. When you look at slides 5 in terms of the ECD program, again, in this particular program, there was enforced cost cutting around goods and services, which is mainly contributing to the anticipated under expenditure at year end, where there were certain programs that have been cut, which include training and also including the procurement of lesser or lower than budgeted items as a result of the final resource target list. In program 6 at 47.8%, this is our infrastructure program, and for this program, we are not anticipating any over or under expenditure, and this program is largely funded from our EIG grant, and for the current financial year, as at the second quarter, we're sitting at 47.8%. In the program 7, regarding the examination and related services, again, in this program, we are anticipating an under expenditure of 58 million, and the current spend is at 36.2%, and is also one of the programs where there have been enforced cost-cutting measures when we look at the normal operations, so that we could absorb some of the over expenditures or the pressures that the department is experiencing. The same picture is depicted in terms of the economic classification on slides 23 and slides 24. And for this, as indicated earlier, the main over expenditures around compensation of employees at 1.2 billion rands, but the overall anticipated over expenditure for the entire department, when we're looking at the economic classification, is at about 899 million rands, which is about 1.3% over the allocation that we have as a department. With the funds that are exclusively and specifically allocated on slides 26, the overall expenditure is 48.8%, which is slightly under the 50% benchmark. And the main reasons for this is the improving infrastructure support, where there will have to be some journals that have been that will have to be made during the adjustments budget to correct the coding of 16 officials that are actually sitting in this budget. But the current spend for that is 26.4%. With the OSS and DDM responsibilities allocation, this amount is at 21.4%, and with the sanitary dignitary project, this is also it's showing 0%, and it is under payment process where invoices have been received but are currently undergoing reviews by the responsible unit. With the BEEI, we are at 61.7%. And for this particular funding, we do not we do not foresee that we will overspend after correcting what the journals indicated at adjustments budget. With the conditional grants, we're sitting at 49.4% as shown on slides 27, and the explanations are provided on slides 28 and 29. And with the performance of the grant with EIG and the HIV and AIDS at 50.4% and 65.8% respectively. With the LPID grant, it is at 39%, and the main reason for the low spending is that there are some of these items that are sitting at procurement in terms of procuring additional items or devices. The units are working together to ensure that this is fast-tracked so that this grant catches up in the third quarter in terms of the expected expenditure. For MST, it's at 60%, 60.6%, and again, it's because of the type of grant and in terms of the bulk buying, in terms of the devices that are being used, but this grant is performing in accordance with the business plan. With the NSNP, it's at 48.5%, and the main reason for the slight under expenditure is because some of the invoices for September were received in October. Hence, we see that slight under expenditure at 48.5%. The EPWP grant as well, in terms of training, there had been some delays. Hence, we are at 43.6%, and with the ECD grant, in terms of the 43.4% expenditure, there were some projects that had been delayed and were at pre-construction stages, but there is work that is being performed to ensure that the grant catches up in terms of the expenditure. But in overall, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members, at the 49.4%, we are not foreseeing any risks in terms of under expenditure of the department when it comes to your end. In terms of the infrastructure details on slides 30 and 31, we are showing expenditure at 47%, and the various stages in terms of the maintenance and repairs projects, which are at 36.8%, the upgrades and in terms of and the additions in terms of the capital expenditure at 90.8%, with the rehabilitation and refurbishment at 19.9%. There are some adjustments that will be currently be done in terms of the budget, looking into the reprioritization, and this will level out at adjustments budget. In terms of our new infrastructure, we're at 84.2%. In terms of the infrastructure leases at 55.4%, and the non-infrastructure at 43.2%. When we look at the approved establishment in terms of our rate of vacancies on slides 32 and 33, right up until slides 34, we can see that as at the end of September, the department had 8,571 vacant posts when we are looking at the total fixed approved fixed establishment. And for those posts that are additional to the establishment, we had 3,768 vacancies, and in total we had 12,339 vacancies within the department. And if you look at slides 33 and 34, with the slow filling or non-filling of essential posts, it is to assist with the slowing down of the expenditure, but we will see on slides 34 that even with that, with the current filled posts, more especially for educators, we still have an over expenditure of 1.2 billion, and this is largely, as explained earlier, because of that non-funding of the wage agreement. So meaning that the current posts or filled posts are not, we cannot afford those posts as a department, and it is at a total of 2,106 posts that are currently filled that the department cannot afford. This is, honourable members, affecting also the operations of the department, not only at school level, but also at administration level, because even if we go to all our district offices, in terms of our administration, it is greatly impacted because of the large or the huge vacant posts that are actually being currently experienced. We have also included for the honourable members on slides 36 where we are indicating the cash resources. I think the Provincial Accountant General also touched on that as per his report. And it is important to note that these figures do change on a daily basis because it is really dependent in terms of the number of invoices that are being submitted to the department. And on the slide 36, as at the end of September, we'll correct the date, which was saying 31 October on the slide to 30th September in terms of reporting, in terms of the second quarter. As a department, we had available resources in terms of our equitable share of 837,410,000, and on the system, what was captured but not yet released it was an amount of just over 1 billion rands. And this does include accruals from the previous financial year of 2024-2025 to the value of about 500 million rands, which is an indication that the department, as we are proceeding towards the third quarter and fourth quarter of the 2025-26 financial year, we will find ourselves in the same position when we are opening the 2026-2027 financial year, because we are accumulating those accruals as a result of the unavailability of funding to the department. And I think, as previously reported, we had indicated the requests that are currently being looked at in terms of if the department can receive some additional cash injection. It will most definitely ease the pressures and ease the situation at hand. We have included on slides 36 in terms of just also updating and continuously updating the honourable members in terms of the measures to control the overspending, where we are implementing the financial recovery plan, and as well as the intervention from Provincial Treasury that is assisting us to slow down the expenditure in terms of the sections 18 of the PFMA when it comes to procurement items, as also indicated in the previous presentation. On slides 40 to slides 41, we're indicating the items that were allowed, but I won't go too much in detail because the PHE did touch on that, where the grants and the specific allocations are included. But just to highlight to the members, the items that we're spending on as a department with the media examinations, year-end examinations, we're spending on our fixed costs, paying for water and lights, for computer services, for fleet management, and also S&T in line with the cost-cutting measures. We also received a go-ahead in terms of the procurement of security services and cleaning services. And there was one item which we received on the 3rd of July for the resettlement costs. You will see that in this report, you won't see the approval for the LTSM and the year-end examinations because that was received on the 3rd of October, which fell within the third quarter, and which will also affect the items indicated on slides 42. As at the end of the second quarter, all those items were still with Provincial Treasury, but the movement happened in the first week of October when we received that go-ahead as indicated by the PAG in terms of the procurement of stationery at a cost of 496 million rands. The examination costs to be kept at 295, and the matric improvement program at 60 million. So it is just an indication to the honourable members just to give or highlight the type of items that the department is currently procuring, which is within the provisions of the sections 18 as per the intervention from Provincial Treasury. Slides 43 and 44 is also just highlighting the main items in terms of our current interventions, and the top three projects is the employee and learner verification, the personal expenditure cleanup, and as well as the smart meter and alternative energy projects. With the verification, it is in progress and it is anticipated to end at the end of this month. The personal expenditure cleanup is in progress, but we have not yet realized any savings from this project. And with the smart meter, the award is in its final stages, where we'll have those experts, energy experts coming in as early as maybe December or January in terms of identifying the savings. With the pressures, it is the same pressures we have included in terms of historically, because of the cuts of the budget and the unfunded wage agreements, we find ourselves having to actually reduce what is available for operational costs to actually try and cover the payments for the current field posts. So this has had a negative impact, as previously previously reported and is shown on slides 46 and 47. For the transfer payments, we also wanted to highlight to the honorable members on slides 48 and 49 in terms of what has been paid and in terms of what is outstanding. And this is also impacted by the cash position of the department, where we see on slides 48 the total in the current financial year for the 2025-2026, as per those categories shown, we have not paid transfers amounting to 933 million rands, 233,493 rands. We also have some outstanding transfers from last year, from the 2024-25 financial year, which is depicted on slides 49, to the value of 295 million, and it's for the basic allocation and the LTSM and for the various schools across the districts as indicated. The department, in summary, before closing, again, we just highlighted in terms of some of those unfunded policies and unaffordable national policies that are impacting our cash position, which include the non-funded portion of the National Wage Agreement as shown in the table on slides 50, as well as the pay progression. There are also some other projected costs from medium to long term that are as per the national policies, but have not been supported by any funding, and those total to 7.6 million rands. We know with the visit from the minister on the 29th of September, there was an indication to say that the top priorities are around LTSM, it's around norms and standards, it's around the year-end examinations, as well as the learner transport, where the how part in terms of dealing with that is left for it talks in the province between the Honourable Premier and the Honourable MEC for Treasury or Finance and the Honourable MEC for Education. So these talks are ongoing, but we have not yet received anything, but there is a provisional allocation letter for adjustments, which is about 640 million and has been specifically indicated, although it's not final, it's a provisional allocation, it's indicated to be going towards the educator posts, which will be absorbed by that 1.2 billion over expenditure. So the impact on in terms of the service delivery is as previously reported and is on slides 51. Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members of the Education Portfolio Committees, the recommendation is for the committee to note the presentation, to note the budget performance of the vote, to note the budget performance of the exclusive and specific funding, to note the budget performance of the conditional grants of the infrastructure, as well as to note the approved post-establishment and headcounts, and to note the cash resources of the department and the measures to control overspending, and lastly, to note the budget pressures and the impact on service delivery. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, CFO. Colleagues, any comments or inputs? Honorable Ngema. We only have one hand.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to the colleagues and to all officials present. Chair, where do I start? I think first and foremost, I want to thank Treasury. I'm not sure what brief they got in terms of our resolution, but I was hoping for a more detailed document, and I'm struggling to find the detailed in terms of the addendums attached to what we had required. They just gave an overview, I suppose, of things we already know. But we were really looking for sort of more detail. One, around the justification, around Section 18, just detail around that. And also detail around, and I think the takeaway from the previous meeting was on the proclamation around the 900 million and just clarity from them around that, which we didn't get. So I think maybe if we can also get clarity from our side in terms of what brief we sent to them to come and present, that will help us. The second thing, Chair, is look, I think when it comes to the department's performance in terms of what they've been able to, what's unpaid, the accruals, the possibility to have that doubled by the end of this financial year is concerning. I think what's also most concerning in what Treasury has just said is that there are some accruals that are within the category of unknown. So if we could maybe get some understanding of how that becomes possible, how do we not know what we have generated in terms of expenses that we are unable to pay? Because then that's a serious concern. Then maybe to speak on the LTSM requirement of 1.2 billion. As we've been doing these readiness and these evaluation oversights, we've been asking districts if they are going to be able to roll out, in terms of LSTM requirements next year, stationery packs, things like that. We've been getting dates that they should be able to do that around the 15th or before schools open in January. But the picture here is saying that it's going to be really difficult for the department to meet that deadline. So maybe because we have you here, is it realistic, given the requirements and Treasury's proclaimment that you might not be able to meet those requirements and there's no money to meet those requirements? Will you be able to meet the beginning of January deadlines for that? Then maybe to talk to a number of issues, because I think I'm tired of sort of lamenting on the financial position of the department. We know that they've been chronically underfunded. We know that a lot of these issues come from that. There was a process that had begun around the verification of your employees. Apparently it's 140,000 of them, I believe. I don't know. You can correct that number. It's gone quiet. Where are we with the verification of the employees? Because why I'm asking this, Chair, all of these issues essentially say that the department is seriously in the red. And what we now know for sure is that there will not be a financial bailout coming from National Treasury. There won't be a bailout coming from Provincial Treasury. And it really leaves the department in one position, or one alternative, is to free up money so that they can spend more on their operational expenditure. And the only way you do that is to reduce your cost of employees, which is to let go teachers. Now, if the process of verification then is something that we can rely on to say, let's say, we find that there are 10,000, I don't know what the number would be, individuals that aren't available, we can then start the corrective process of ensuring that that money then can be redirected to its operation. So I think the last hope of the department is the verification process. And fortunately and unfortunately, the hope there is that we might find with that report that there is scope for monies to be saved in COE to be directed there, because the concern I have now, and it's a real concern, is that if we don't find money somewhere, this actually isn't going to change. In fact, it's going to get worse to a point where I don't think when we look to 2027, 2028 and beyond, that we'll be talking about the department's ability to meet deadlines. We'll be talking another language of there's actually no money to provide certain things like LSTM at all. So yeah, I think I'll leave my questions there for now, just to get clarity on those key issues, and then we can proceed.
HOD.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thanks to Honorable Mngadi for the questions, which I will share with the CFO in terms of responses. I think I'll start with your last question, which was on learner verification, Honorable Mngadi, or employee and learner verification, both. Yes, just to give progress as to where we are currently. I think in the previous meeting, it was reported that the national department has taken over that process and has got a service provider who does it for us, using advanced ITC programs to ensure that everybody gets accounted for, both learners and teachers. So it is divided into 3 phases. Phase 1 was learner and educator verification, and we've got the committee must remember that the bulk of our employees are educators. So we started with the bulk of our numbers really are our learner numbers, 2.8 learners, 90,000 educators. That's where you start. And that process has now been completed. It is at a stage where the analysis of what is coming out of our schools is taking place by the service provider. The service provider, of course, employed by DBE through the LRC, has indicated that they will be providing us with a report. In the next 2 weeks, they will be providing us with a report of that phase 1. As they are working on that analysis, phase 2 is about to commence. In fact, we were in a meeting yesterday with National and the service provider. Phase 2 has officially commenced as well. Phase 2 is the verification of all other employees other than educators. In other words, your staff in second offices, your staff at head office. That's phase 2. Phase 3 will look at the issues of undocumented learners, and we'll also look at mopping up the first 2 phases as well. In other words, it's a mop-up exercise. Phase 3 mop-up exercise involves, just as a quick example, verifying the potential, because you see, once you go to a school, for example, to try and verify, and if there are 2 teachers that you don't see there, you flag those as potential problems, you see. But you are not saying they are goals. You are saying this is where you should look. That's what will be happening in phase 3. For example, if we went to the uploads into the system indicate that teacher A and teacher X were not there, in phase 3 we'll check whether indeed, when we got the information that it's because they were sick, was it true? Which means besides the ITC kind of driven verification, there will be also some kind of checkups on those issues that are flagged, and that will happen in phase 3. But I must indicate, Chair, just in passing, that our expectations, and even the service provider has indicated that our expectations should not be like, from the casual observation that they've seen with the analysis that they're doing so far, our expectations should not be that high. In other words, expectations of saying we might get thousands and thousands of ghosts, and also thousands of ghost learners. In fact, our main issue with learners will be on undocumented learners, because if they are undocumented, then it means they don't have IDs, for example. Whereas the documented one, because of SASAMs, it's difficult to cheat the system because each person has one ID number and so on. Where the cheating could happen is with the undocumented learners. And the cheating would not be to the extent that says all undocumented learners, for example, are ghosts. No, because the undocumented learners, there are South Africans who are undocumented. There are also foreigners who are undocumented. But the question that we'll be looking for is whether they exist or not. And in fact, our own analysis has shown that in the majority of cases, they actually exist because there are other checks and balances besides your SASMs. For example, we check tests written in the first term so that a learner, for example, who's there in name, we can double check whether they've been writing tests, they've been June examinations and so on and so on. Because of those checks and balances, they are not likely to have too many learners falling through the cracks, even with the undocumented learners. But we'll await that analysis, as it comes. The other thing that I just want to quickly touch on, but the CFO will deal with it as well, is that with the approval to procure stationery, of course, it has to be understood that it's not approval with funding. It's approval that you can go ahead, place an order, negotiate with the service provider that payment may not be forthcoming in 30 days or whatever. Negotiate terms with the service provider. And that is not a new thing. That's what we've been doing all these years. I mean, we've been negotiating, particularly with those service providers that deal with examination, that deal with LTSM, essential things. We've been negotiating with them because our financial problems are not new. We've been negotiating with them to say, look, try and assist. And of course, we understand it's becoming unfair to them because, they are in business too. You can't be saying that, they must go negotiate with publishers and so on. But that's what we've been doing. So it's not something new, maybe suggested recently to say we must now negotiate. We've been doing that. The second thing that I want to emphasize is that approval was for stationery only. And we did indicate the implications of that, even in our meeting with Treasury. We did indicate the implications of that. The implications of stationery only is that you're going to go to our 5,800 schools twice, which will up the cost of delivery, because our system ordinarily has been to say, you load stationery, you load textbook per school, so that you take one trip to the school. So I'm just highlighting that so that the committee must be aware that it's approval to go ahead and place an order, but it's not funding, that goes with the placement of that order. Our financial challenges are still the same. So the public must not think that, well, 400 and something million for stationery has been given. No, it's not given. The funding situation remains the dire, the same thing with 900 million, but maybe that's not for me to go to. It's for Treasury to explain. I think I'll leave it there for the CFO to take the other questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. In terms of the remainder of the responses, I think as well in terms of the timelines, I think normally by this time everything would have been delivered. It would be picking and packing, and then we start. It would be delivered to the warehouse, and then we pick and pack per school, and then take it across the various areas. So I think because of the slowness in terms of the approval, most definitely we will be impacted for day one of 2026, more especially as well for textbooks. But I think because the stationery has now been ordered, it is to be delivered, so that will be a little bit ahead of the textbooks. This is in accordance with the the management plan of the entire project. It is impacted, and I think as well, just looking at the other items now, because maybe we'll be late event, let's say that we do receive a go-ahead later, then it can also increase the overtime if we're trying to catch up to ensure that we actually deliver on the first day. So it's got other costs, which include the warehousing, because currently what is in the warehouse is only stationery, but we would have paid the same cost where we had stationery and textbooks at the same time. So I think it's just some of those other costs that we may incur as a department. In terms of the response, in terms of the accruals, as was inquired and as was reported, what Honourable Member, Honourable Mgadi, we had experience through you, Honourable Chair, is that in the current financial year, the payments that were being done, there was sort of items identified where we did pick up that some of the payments or the invoices coming in for the first time in 25-26 actually belonged to expenditure, which was in 24-25. But when we went to the listing that was disclosed, those particular invoices were not there. So we are working with Provincial Treasury, and they've, in fact, we have requested resources to assist with the entire implementation of the turnaround plan for the department. Because if you do it in small bits and pieces, you really don't see the impact because you'll be busy working with accruals and payables. Meanwhile, all the other areas are just getting from bad to worse. So they are working with us on that, where they've given us about 5 resources, because this one was a high risk, because what it meant is that possibly the 3.3 billion we're talking about could be higher than that. So it's automatically reducing what we have available in terms of the current financial year. And the main impact, and I think ours shows more, but I think throughout all the departments, there's a system that Provincial Treasury is working on, which is centralizing invoices and also tracking invoices on an automated system. It becomes difficult at the moment if you're going to have maybe 7 end users, and as a CFO where I'm sitting, I don't know what's received today. If I have to find out, I have to call all these other 7 people. Are there any invoices that you have received? Because the invoices are being delivered by service providers to the end users. So it sort of messes up the entire system, where you are not able to tell at one go to say, if you open the system, how many invoices, what is the department owing currently to all service providers. So that is what we are trying to catch up with in terms of cleaning our Q2, and also we'll have to look at what we had disclosed in terms of our financial statements, in terms of corrections, where we identify payments made. And this is a huge exercise where it means for each and every single payment, we have to go to the order book, each and every order book in all the districts and all the projects within the head office, and go back and trace in terms of the payments. So it is quite a huge exercise, and we are trying in as much as we can to catch up with that. So that is how it arises. Also, the stages between accruals and payables. Accruals is where you receive goods and services, but you haven't received the invoice. And payables is where you have received the invoice, but you haven't paid. So we find that sometimes the invoices, they skip this accrual stage, and you just find them being delivered for payment. And it's like it has to be paid now because we delivered the goods 2 months ago, whereas the service provider will withhold the invoices and only deliver at that point. So we're trying to drive that throughout all the end users to ensure that even if we haven't received the invoice, you have to indicate what good or what service have you received, so that we can estimate, and it assists also with our cash flow projections to say we can't now at the end of the day, boom, we have 1.5 billion. We have to be slowly building up and having an understanding in terms of the entire system, what have we received. So that is what we are currently working on, and that is the current challenge that we're experiencing. And in as far as the other projects, we haven't received resources as yet, but we roughly asked for about 11 to be spread out, so that also in terms of the entire internal control environment, we are assisted in terms of investigations to move, in terms of clearing irregular expenditure and fruitless and wasteful. But currently we are working on the accruals and payables as we speak. And we also, through our recent meeting with the audit committee, I know in terms of the financial recovery plan, there's been estimates that have been made, which everybody has been, greatly anticipating with much anxiety in terms of the perceived savings. And I think we had anticipated about 1.4 billion rands at a minimum per annum, looking at the verification project for the learner verification, for the employee verification. What we found so far, I think we might need to go back and revisit those figures. And because in terms of, for example, in the PESAL cleanup, we're expecting about 500 million. But in terms of the first month of the interaction with the data as being assisted by Provincial Treasury, they've given us an IT expert. We haven't found any exceptions so far. So which means we might have to relook, but we are going to carry out the project for about 3 months before we can close it off and say our PESAL data is totally clean. And I think HOD has also indicated the other movements. So I think we debated this at a great deal as well at the audit committee to say that these anticipated savings, one may look and say, listen, from the financial recovery plan, we're expecting 1.4 billion, but I think those were just estimates. So we'll also have to go and revisit those figures, and we will report back to the honorable members and also to the audit committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No follow-up. We move to the next item. Oh, there is follow-up. Oh, okay. We need to tish up. Honorable Mngadi.
Thanks, Chair. I'll be quick. I know members have a far drive. I think then it's quite concerning. It's almost like a double-edged sword. On one hand, you want the department to complete the verification process and find that there's no issues, because that says, the department has been operating honestly. But then that means you're not going to find savings, which means your financial issues won't be resolved. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I personally hope that you do find irregularities, because then what it does, Chair, and maybe it should be at the back of other honorable members' minds, is it forces us to have those difficult conversations. Because like I said, if you look to how the accruals have been growing, the impact that they've been having on the preceding budgets, it has been increasing year on year, and that's been decreasing your operational budget. And as that goes on, you will get to a point where there won't be any room to move, and you will have no money to roll out your programs. And then you'll be forced to do the cuts. So it's concerning on that level. The one, I just wanted to get a clarity on the physical verification. I think it's important. The service provider is bringing people in physically and seeing them and verifying them, or is this using, let's say school A has 50 teachers, we submit the details of those teachers, or do the teachers actually get physically verified? Yeah, that was just the follow-up. Thanks.
Thanks for that question. No, the teachers actually get physically verified, and then uploaded into the system, and they also, the IT system that they are using is so advanced that it can tell where the person was verified. So because the rule is you have to be verified in your school, so it can via GPS know if you are verified in a mall. Because it will locate your school in Nkandla, and when you upload, it will tell where this picture and this ID was uploaded. So you can't upload it anywhere, anywhere else. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Madonsela.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the Treasurer invoked Section 18 of the PMFA. My question is, will the department experience any delay in the execution of the LTSM procurement process? If so, what is the extent of the delay?
Honorable Matondo.
Ngibonga sihlalo. Nginewara nje encane kuyahlupha kulokhu khala ngento eyodwa, because you end up sounding like a scratch record. In terms of LTSM, ngizwile ukuthi kunama negotiations no supplier in terms of stationery, ukuthi mhlambe they will be ama-delayed payments. Ngiyacabanga ukuthi mhlambe usupply njengondabase kanje akuyona inkinga engako because une-contract ne-department. Nginenkinga ngalabo supplier laba abasupply lezi ikole lezi ezino 21 function C, ngoba isikhathi esiningi osupplier bakhona osupplier basazifufusela nje emakhaya ukuthi iba nenkinga ngempela into le yama-delayed payments, ukuthi mhlambe angabe othisha omkhulu ke bayakhona nokukhulumisana kahle nalabo supplier, be-understand labo supplier laba abafufusayo ukuthi bezama ukuthi be-deliver i-stationery, because nginewari ukuthi kungenzeka siphindwe ilokhu okusenzile uma ngabe qala lo nyaka lo ozophela, ukuthi i-stationery sigcine sesiphelela mhlambe lapho end of February ukuya ko-March. Inkinga esibe nayo, nginayo leyo wari leyo. Sekube nenkinga nje nokuthi abaka-treasurer abafikanga la, ne-presentation abasinike yona isinqanyana nje esingachazi lutho nje. Ungathi bebegcina icala kahle kahle the way okwenzakala ngakhona, because kunama-details esiwadingayo kibo, njengokuthi sifuna noku-check ukuthi i-reasoning behind ukuthi mhlambe benikeze i-go ahead ye-stationery beyimise le yama-textbook, ukuthi mhlambe ngokwabo-ke bona kuzosiza kuphi, because kunokuthi kusize kusazokwandisa wona amakhosi futhi lawa abantu bazama ukwabalekela. So ngebhadi kabekho lana ukuthi mhlambe besiphendule, bekuyilokho nje. Thank you, Chair.
HOD.
The extent of the damage caused by the delay, I think in the CFO's presentation, she does indicate what it means. The damage is that we are unable to, I mean, we are always saying by end of November, stationery and textbooks will be at school. But now we can only say stationery will probably be at school in January. In other words, in all schools. Of course, some schools will receive it before the end of the year, but because of the lateness, then stationery can be there just before schools reopen. In her presentation, she also indicated that when we had a meeting with our national DPE minister, she left it with us as a province to resolve and to look at the issue of LTSM, not just stationery, LTSM as a whole, and the issue of norms and the issue of learner transport. And that goes to Honorable Matondo's question, because the section 21 function C schools that order on their own, that get their own service providers, rely on the payment of the second tranche of norms, because the second tranche of norms is for LTSM in the main. Of course, there are other categories, but it's for LTSM in the main. So that gets entangled into that. The leeway we give to schools, of course, if they can't find one another with the service provider, because like Honorable Matondo is saying, it's true that generally their suppliers, are SMMEs, or business people who are still starting up. If they have a problem with negotiating with that, we say to them, you can come to the central procurement, where it's our heads on the block rather than your head on the block as a principal, because if you negotiate with a supplier and you are then, you are finding it difficult because the department has not paid your norms, and you have a problem now with your supplier, it's not a good situation to be in. Rather, if you find that problem, opt for central, and some schools who have functions, they have actually opted for central procurement, where it's us, who will get taken to court by the supplier if we're unable to pay, and so on and so on, so as to relieve that pressure from our school principals.
CFO Kusungen. No, thank you. Colleagues, you are covered. Let's move to the next item, HOD.
It's the second quarter report on performance, and we are going to be led by Dr. Chetty. Sitting there.
Afternoon, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, Honorable MEC, HOD, DDGs, and colleagues. The second quarter report is based on the standardized output indicators as well as the non-standardized output indicators as set out in the originally tabled Annual Performance Plan 2025-2026. I must bring to the attention of the honorable members that subsequent to this, a revised Annual Performance Plan was tabled at the beginning of September. And in terms of the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the report on the revised targets and so on comes into effect in the third quarter. And in the third quarter, you would find achievements changing because targets would have changed as well, taking into account the various contextual factors. There are 5 quarterly indicators and 40 annual indicators with 45 indicators in total. The data for each indicator is validated performance information submitted by the performance indicator managers, verified against substantiating source documents. The report also presents a general overview of the performance of the 7 programs. In slide 3, we give a graphic illustration of each one of the 5 quarterly indicators. We start with indicator SOI 101, which is the number of schools using SASAMS or any alternative system. We have an achievement of 99.8% there. In terms of SOI 102, that's the number of public schools that can be contacted electronically. We also report the same, 99.8%. And in the report itself, in the details, one will be given the reasons as to why there is that slight deviation. In terms of SOI 402, that's the number of therapists or specialist staff in public special schools, an achievement of 97.8%. And yet again, we give a reason as to why the deviation took place. In terms of NSOI, non-standardized output indicator number 1.3, percentage of payment made within 30 days. Now this is when we look at the requisite documents that have been submitted. I think CFO has covered that, and we report at this stage 38%, but the verification is ongoing. In terms of the National School Nutrition Program, percentage of learners benefiting from this program, despite the administrative challenges we are feeding above the targeted number, and hence we get an achievement of 101.1%. Overall, in terms of the quarterly performance indicators, we report 60% achieved and 40% not achieved. Overview of the department's programs. This is just a very high-level overview. In Program 1, Administration, as at the end of the second quarter of the financial year, 5,816 schools can be contacted electronically. That's via email to ensure efficient communication, and we are using this heavily. Instead of transporting documents to school, they are being emailed. 5,860 public schools are using the South African Schools Administrative and Management System or alternative.
Sorry. May I request that you go like the CFO, you summarize, you know, you don't go line by line.
Thank you, Chair. Chair,
these people who carries money is they.
Yeah.
No.
Chair, noted, Chair. I think the slides are the very high level summary, and hence I don't have 54 slides, just fewer. But anyway, in terms of administration, we are faring well. The targets are being achieved, and program 2, psychosocial support is being given, and we've got the numbers there using the LSA, the learner support agents. And in terms of our no-fee school policy, we report 2,146,807 learners as being the beneficiaries, and I just reported on the NSNP. Now, to improve literacy reading for meaning, we have provided a further 43 schools with multimedia resources. Training of educators is ongoing, and we provide information on the training in the foundation phase, training in the senior phase in the primary schools as well. Program 3, we report 41% of registered independent schools as receiving subsidies, and that number remains constant. Program 4, public special schools, 22,290 learners are enrolled against a target of 21,900, and we have 2,049 educators employed in this space. ECD, we report 3,946 schools that offer grade R, and we have 3,558 ECD programs which are registered. We have a total of 181,459 learners who are accessing ECD programs. In terms of infrastructure, infrastructure indicators are annual indicators, and they are normally reported at the end of the financial year. There have been revisions to the targets which I alluded to as contained in the revised APPs. To monitor progress, the department does track the projects on a quarterly basis, and we do report on the achievements in terms of water infrastructure and sanitation, as well as the maintenance projects that have been completed. In terms of examinations are currently past the midway point, the NSC, and in an effort to improve the pass rate, we did develop revision material which was distributed to schools in all subjects, and winter and spring classes were also conducted for matric learners. Chair, in terms of the individual indicators, the report has been shared, the details are there, where we report on each of the 45 indicators, both the quarterly and the annual. We report on the targets that were set, the validated outputs. We provide both the percentage and numerics, the numbers. We give the reasons for deviation, what corrective measures were taken, and whose responsibilities these are for ongoing implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Let us move to the next item. Item 8, 8.1. Oh, I did not see you, Honorable Kika.
All right. Chair, quick question. I'm just going to use one of those indicators. SY 601, for example. I see there was a target set, and then in the comments it says that it was reduced. Who sets these targets? I understand the reason for reduction, then who reduces it? And if you set a target at the beginning of the year, for example, or the year before for the next year, When do you decide how to reduce it and when to reduce it, and what is the process followed?
Over to you. Who is responding?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you. Good afternoon to honorable members. The reason for the department sets the targets based on the availability of funding and the needs. And then the reason for reduction was that some of these activities were funded through the equitable share, which is no longer available, hence the proposed for reduction. Because the resources to implement them is no longer available. It was some was equitable share. Thanks.
Thank you. 8.1 HOD.
Point one, Mr. Mhlongo is going to take us through. Possibly will be guided by yourself, Chair, whether it's just tabling or he will take us through and say this project is done by IDT, this one is done by.
No, I think, colleagues, it's better that he tables it because it was circulated to us. If there is a member who has a specific question, that member will then ask.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Sekubuye iCovid ini. Noma department isuka nokufakwayo le kweyimali. Yeah, you can proceed.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. We have updated the report as per the requirement. We presented the entire report in the last meeting, and then we were then requested to indicate the implementing agents for each project, as well as the contractors that are implementing we have done that.
Thank you. 8.2.
Therefore, table the report, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 8.2.
8.2. Let me just go to that report. Thank you once again, Chairperson. This report, once again, it has been presented for a number of times in this meeting. The only portion that we've been requested to go through is the issue of consequence management. So I'm just going to go straight to page number 10 of the report that talks to the progress on the consequence management. And we are reporting to say that to date, the district office has completed its internal investigation into the matter of documents that were signed by the district official confirming work done, despite poor workmanship having been identified. And the outcome of the investigation, the internal investigation that have been concluded, it identifies the potential misconduct to this in the side of this official, and it has been revealed that the official proceeded to sign the document and process the payments to head office, despite the chief works inspector at the district level having been advised against the acceptance of the work. We want to note again, Chairperson, that this payment, as we indicated in the previous meeting, the final processing did not happen at head office because we picked it up, so the payment was not made to the service provider. However, the question is, how did that gentleman sign, despite poor workmanship being obvious on the site, which is the disciplinary matter that the department is currently dealing with. No, to this end, Mr. Dube, who is the official, has been requested to present a report detailing the reason for him to sign, the circumstances that made him to sign that particular document, and then also a report from the works inspector and the infrastructure section head at the district level has also been solicited by the district director. We want to also report that Mr. Dube has since taken a transfer from the district to another district. He's now under another different section under examination. Why we are raising this is that one would probably ask, why is he not immediately suspended? So we are saying because he is no longer dealing with infrastructure matters. maybe that has disabled the need to actually suspend him immediately, but it does not stop the proceedings that are currently underway. On the 6th of November 2026, the district has referred the matter to the employee relations at head office for further actioning. And as per the usual procedure in dealing with misconduct, we are expecting the Employee Relations Directorate to now proceed and appoint an independent investigations officer who will institute an independent investigation on the matter. We are expecting them to also appoint a presiding officer who, once the independent investigation has been concluded, they will then study the merit of the case and then prepare the official charges to this particular official. So the presiding officer will also proceed to preside over the disciplinary hearing should the recommendations of the investigation point to the formal proceedings having to be followed. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, colleagues. I know that we'll make some inputs on discussions, but it's, to me, I am worried about the part that you have mentioned, that you cannot suspend him immediately because he or she has moved within the department. I know that you must not sound like in the department you're too soft to people who are doing isn't as irregular, but it's okay. We'll discuss. We'll have more inputs during our discussion. 8.3. List of 54 schools for which coding and robotics equipment has been procured.
I think, Chair, again, with your guidance, we'll be guided by you. We'll be guided by whether to table or.
Please table it, don't present it.
Chair, thank you very much. With your guidance and permission, you're tabling the list of 54 schools. But let us note through you, Chair, that the schools in the list are 60. And because we are, as a province, using the MST conditional grant, continuing with the rollout of the program. So the 60 that appears here is because of that nature. And when we come back in the next financial year, we'll then be adding to the number. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 8.4.
8.4, it was a resolution of this committee, which said the department must issue a statement clarifying the misconception on 900 million. We wish to confirm that indeed that statement was issued by the MSA on the 23rd of September 2025.
Thank you, HOD. Next item, 8.5.
And on 8.5, we are going to be led by Mr. Mazibuko, who's the DDG for curriculum.
Thank you very much, HOD. Chairperson, also on the last tab, we are reporting on the progress that has been made on the handling of irregularities. But in the main, we need to draw the attention of this committee to the issues of Begatina, with an understanding that at Begatina there was an issue of group copying. And because of the nature of the irregularity as identified, group copying, then the issue then as the branch, then we advised the district to suspend the chief invigilator from the duties this year, which is normal. I need to indicate that. And this is pending the disciplinary hearing that has been slowed down because we are busy with the exams, but with an indication that come end of November, we'll finalize all the disciplinary hearings, then come up with the verdict. But in the same list, we will also need to indicate that there is also some indication of the cases that have been concluded and sanction has been provided to the teachers in the main where they have pleaded guilty. But where they have not pleaded guilty, we are slowing down because we are busy with the exams, but we are going to fast track so that come the next calendar year, when we run the exams, at least we know the status of these colleagues. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Colleagues, comments or any inputs? But HOD, can we get the reason? Is it the policy of the department that when a person commits an offense, ngenza isibonelo nje ekudleni, niyamsusa ekudleni noma uyicelela yena ukusuka ekudleni aye kwa-infrastructure noma kuphi, then izandla zenu seyiboshwe ngemumva, nine-policy yokufuya igangi ukuthi masike sasuka la sathi, that is uzwathatha sewonke nawo ama-members, but nje sifuna i-clarity lapho ngoba it would have been something else uba nithiwa umuntu usuke kwa-education waya ka-public works, nakhona besingaba ne-argument yokuthi he or she is still in the systems of the state, but you can understand that one. Usela egcekeni senifuna uthakatha lapha. Honorable Mkhize, emva kwakhe kuzoba Honorable Kika, Honorable Ngema will be the last one.
Chair, thanks. Mine is
my hand is up on the virtual platform.
Okay, Mhlonishwa, you will come after Mhlonishwa Mngadi.
Thanks, Chair, and greetings to the HOD and colleagues from the department, honorable members, interim chair and the real chair, greetings. Chair, mine is also on consequence management. I am not satisfied with how the department deals with people who have committed certain offenses, but also I have a very strong feeling that, thank you very much. I also have a very strong feeling that the investigations also within the department do take some time. And I believe that we can do better as the department. I don't necessarily sit in this committee. I think I must mention that I'm sitting on behalf of Honorable Mavimbela, but it happened that I also represented her about a week ago, I think, in Mzinyati, and there is an instant chair where there have been irregularities when it comes to NSC matric exams, and the person that, or the principal, or the person that is responsible for those irregularities is actually overseeing these matric exams. So the irregularities happened last year, but the department has not been able to implement consequence management or remove these people that are allegedly involved in irregularities. I can't remember what's the name of the school, but I think you can help me with the name of the school. It's Pegatina. So I don't think it's okay that one, our investigation is very slow. Secondly, that even when they are alleged people, I mean, there should be measurements of putting them away from Lagutiwa Bakangekona, even when the department has not necessarily found them guilty on anything, but there should be a precautionary suspension to say, can you move from where you are? You can't have same people overseeing AMA NSC matric exams or NSC exams, whereas they're allegedly involved in irregularities the previous year. So mine is also on just consequence management, and the scenario that has just been presented to us now really does confuses me, and I hope the HOD will be able to assist us on policies also, because some of the things may be may not, Honorable Chair, be the doing of the officials or the willingness of the officials to either delay the investigation or to either not suspend people, may not be from officials, but they may be working on policy. And I think as the committee, that is where we enter as policymakers to say, if the policy is the one that is flawed, what is it that we as the committee can do? But if we can get clarity, what does the policy say? Because we don't want to end up pointing fingers to the officials of the department to say, you are not doing your work, you are not acting when there are irregularities or offenses that have been committed, whereas you'll find out that you are actually acting within the policies of the department. So if we may get clarity on that, thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kika.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, regarding 8.2, so I think the official that is not suspended and moved to somewhere else is to keep the official doing some work instead of being suspended, collecting a salary at home, but they've moved him to another place. Sometimes in our minds, it's like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, you just move people around. But there is some, in my understanding, some method to this madness, if I can use the term, to say that instead of the official being idle, he's doing something somewhere else. But it remains that the official that it's there's a big question mark hanging over the person's head. So long as they're not doing the same thing in the new place and they are watched, that is the question that I have regarding that. So that's the first thing. The second thing about this Aldenville issue is there's clearly a bigger problem going on in that district, and not only in that district, but particularly related to that company. So here we see the issue being dealt with regards to the official responsible and one particular invoice. What about that company? How much of work are they doing there? Where are they? And can we get feedback as to what has happened to them? Because ideally, we spoke about this before. It's not the first time that we're talking about this. But I just want to know what is the progress with regards to dealing with the service provider? Because I think that's more important. Then with regards to 8.3, with the delivery of the equipment, I was very glad to see, and I must mention it here, that my alma mater, S.E. Vauda Primary School in Newcastle is on the list, in Amajuba. So I'm letting via you, Chairperson, the HOD know that I will be visiting them to go and have a look, because it's literally about 400 meters away from my house or 500 meters away. So I'll go and visit them and have a look. And Panorama is about 2 kilometers away. I'll visit both of them. Thank you.
Honorable Mngadi.
Thanks, Chair. Aldenville. So there was a request. There was an informal request made by the committee that I visit and oversee if maybe the certain deliverables were made. I did visit. I did not see what was in the report, Chair. There was supposed to be new fitted classrooms. I think I saw patchwork. I'm not sure what I saw. But maybe I think that report needs to come to this committee again with what's actually there, maybe with photos, because maybe my learned self in my built environment background didn't understand what the report said versus what's on the ground. But there's a bit of concern there. But I think it speaks to the bigger issue around, and I think the members have spoken around consequence management. Honorable Mkhize mentioned that we were on oversight and there were cases that came up around the department. In particular reference to that, the response was that as much as the principal oversaw the exams last year, they've appointed someone else to oversee in that space, even though he's still there, which is still not good enough. But it touches in on a number of these things where we now know there's some kind of wrongdoing, and we aren't seeing that consequence management and the follow-up of that consequence management, which frustrates us because it's those small issues that can be easily resolved, Chair, that then put into question the big issues that might not be as severe as that. But when the department has that reputation, it becomes difficult to disassociate because the entire brand then gets muddled in there. So I think there's space to improve with that. Chair, I asked for clarity in the beginning from Treasury because they're here and we had invited them here. Just to be very clear, I'm not satisfied with the report. I'd asked if maybe our secretariat can assist with what was sent to Treasury, because maybe it's not his fault. Maybe we sent a scope is limited to what we wanted to know. So if we could just get furnished with that, what did we send as a request to Treasury based off our resolution? Because we understand the department's take on the issue of 900 million. There was a statement put out, but it really did cause a stir. And we want to understand in terms of the 900 million and what Treasury had communicated, what is their official position? That was one of the main points that was supposed to come out of the resolution. And then I just want to talk about the program Special Schools. I think that we're going to see more and more what we saw around the inability of the department to meet its subsidy requirements, and then plus LSTM and norms and standards, and maybe there must be a discussion around, fine, the ordinary public schools program is massive, and that will require a bit of thinking of how we turn that around. But I think there's certainly a scope around special schools to investigate how we shield those particular schools off from the financial burden that the department in its entirety is feeling, because we have now a clear understanding of just how vulnerable those children are when, for instance, the norms are late, when LSTM doesn't reach, when subsidies aren't paid, so far and so forth. Staff aren't there to take care of the learners and whatnot. So it was just a concern I'm raising under that particular program to maybe devise. We can't obviously safeguard the entire thing, but maybe that sector, given its sensitivity, must be looked into. And then again, no, I'll get myself into trouble. Let me stop there. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Masigo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I'm covered in the main, Honorable Chair, by honorable members who have addressed the issue of consequence management. Yes, Eldenville. Chair, this morning we were in the portfolio committee for the Department of Social Development, and there was an issue with one of the district managers where we had performed oversight visit. The report that we received this morning was that the district manager under question has been moved from one district to the other. Now I'm happy when Chairperson, the report is that yes, the employee has moved, but they are still not, they are still within the radar in terms of the implementation of any consequences. The question, Chairperson, that I have is that the employee in question is supervised by an official or has a supervisor. And Chairperson, I do really wish that we investigate all the cases that or maybe all the projects that have been under this individual or officials project, because if they are able to make such a mistake, Honorable Chairperson, the question is how many more in terms of him signing off projects that are not in good order or that are not up to standard, and him approving such things, and like how do you just even have a situation where one is able to sign something off without the supervisor, knowing? How do we get to that? So, Chairperson, I think that we should attend to it urgently. The department must give us, as I'm requesting that this becomes a standing order until we know exactly how the department has dealt with it until the end. As Honorable Kika had said, that we also want the report on the service provider and the projects that they have undertaken in the department. Chairperson covered on the second issue of Ipegatina, where we had raised and we had also expressed a concern around the issue of the speediness of the investigations, because we received a report that in terms of the learners, there has been a consequence that the learners have been, in terms of the penalties that have been implemented on the learners. But on the side of the teachers, we are not hearing anything. We are just hearing that there is an investigation. And Chairperson, a year down the line, I think it has taken too long. We must really not allow a situation where we move from one exam to the next where there has nothing been done in terms of the teachers, because we can hear that it's not only the learners that were involved. If teachers have admitted guilt on their own, then something at least should have been done. So, Chairperson, I think we must request for it to be dealt with speedily and that a report must be given to the portfolio committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Masego. Before I give to Honorable Mngadi, Fuz, on my previous life in local government, the provincial government placed Abaqulus under Section 139 intervention because there was a collusion between service providers, consultants, and the PMU of the municipality. The CFO was processing payments umsebenzi better. A simple thing that happened, it was not done by myself because I was the mayor, but it happened that we released all that hierarchy from the PMU, we blacklisted the consultant, we parted ways with the contractor. You see, you cannot have, for an example, in this case, a person will go out in the public domain or in the media and say the Department of Education led by Honorable Shomuga, they are corrupt. Where does Mr. Honorable Shomuga features in here? Because it's something yenziwa nje umuntu mkundatshani le phansi and nothing happens. I think nje, because you see, if we do not protect those who are in authority, one day it will be yourself. And you'll expect people to protect you. Honestly, I don't think it's proper that as an accounting officer in the department, it's easy just to give the portfolio committee that, hey, this person has moved from here to here. He's still within the system. If the offense he committed warrants that he must be suspended, Mr. Dube must be suspended. The supervisor of Mr. Dube must be suspended. The consultant, if there is one, or the contractor, because you cannot submit fraudulent certificate. When you are a contractor, you only claim for the work that you have done. Immediately when you collude with the officials, you should go down the drain. Because as politicians, elected people, our political parties will be discredited because of the officials that commit crimes here, they jump the ship and stand there. When, I mean no offense with this one, on previous administrations, there was a saying that as politicians, we're still here and you get reshuffled and be placed on the other department to lead. It's the similar thing that happens now about the officials. Each department must be decisive. If you must, you must. No. With all due respect, Makeba, by the way, you've recently arrived here in the legislature. You don't even have 10 years. Accessible bakdala. ababexoxelwa ama-officials. This is new blood. We also want to leave a legacy that during our time we have played a certain role. Some things that onda zaba ngendlela. This explanation yokuthi he has requested, by the way, kwayona lo approvile ukuthi move from this unit to kwayena kushuthi wayethunywe uye. Because honestly, why? Because as a supervisor, you should know what, but I cannot approve this transfer because there's a dark cloud over the head of this person. Honorable Mgadi.
No, thank you, Chair. Chair, just a clarity, we don't have the amended report of the projects, the implementing agents, the duration, the one that was just tabled. So I don't want to vote in favor of tabling something I haven't seen. I've looked through the emails. I'm not sure if it was sent to us or not, but I think honorable members also haven't received it. Thanks.
HOD?
No, our understanding is that it was sent as part of the pack, and we're not sure if the secretariat can, but it was sent from our side to the secretary, to Ms. Dube. Chair, no, Chair, I think I'll thank the members and yourself for the issues that you have raised. I think I'll start with the one on consequence management, where I can see that members, really feel concerned about the Aldenville matter, and I will say that just to give comfort to the members, the fact that the person has moved to another unit within the department, even if they'd gone to another department, of course, if they were still state employed, the fact that they've moved doesn't mean that the disciplinary processes against this person will vanish, will go away. That we will make sure of. The question of suspension, Honorable Chair, suspension is a precautionary measure that is provided for in Labor Relations Act, but it's not a pronouncement of guilt or otherwise. People are assumed innocent until they are proven to be guilty. Now, we have a number of officials suspended, and that in itself should show that we're not scared of taking action like suspending people where we should. You can ask for a list of people that were suspended and they will give you. On one hand, if we do that, you will then say, hey, so many people, they are earning their salary and they are sitting at home. That is why when we suspend, we look at the gravity of the matter. We also look at the potential for this person continuing in the same job and causing even more damage. For example, if somebody is there are allegations of sexual misconduct, we would never even consider precautionary suspension. We can't take a teacher from here to another school on that kind of issue. If somebody is no, we don't necessarily weigh light. Fraud is a very serious issue. That is why the disciplinary process is going to go ahead. Is going ahead. It's not that the person is off the hook now simply because they've transferred. I was just highlighting the fact that, there are certain things that you take into consideration. With this particular one, when this thing came up, this person had already applied for a transfer elsewhere, and it had been approved. But the investigation continued, and the recommendation to charge the person came after they had gone. As far as the supervisor is concerned, again, the supervisor is not necessarily off the hook. The only reason why, for now, we have not dealt with them is that we are in the disciplinary hearing of this official, Mr. Dube. We will find out whether the supervisor was aware, because the information that we have for now is one that says there's no evidence that Mr. Dube, even notified or submitted that signed invoice to the supervisor. It's one of the problems that Mr. Dube is going to be facing, But if indeed we find that during the proceedings, during the hearing, that in fact Mr. Dube produces evidence that no, even my supervisor knew, then it becomes a different story for the supervisor. But for now, let's allow those processes to actually unfold. On the Begatina matter, I think I will allow Mr. Mazibo to quickly explain. But as a matter of policy, if, for example, there's been irregularities, we will remove that person from being a chief invigilator in that school. But remember, that will be a principal of a school. So we won't remove him from being principal of the school, but we'll remove him of the duties where he may have been guilty of negligence or whatever. But the disciplinary processes will go ahead, and Mr. Mazibogo is going to indicate what's the story.
No, thanks, HOD. To summarize, the principal currently, who is the chief invigilator, comes from another school. For the same reason that the current principal is removed in terms of our regulations running examinations. But also, Chair, we need to indicate that the date for the hearing of the current principal is the 25th of November. So seated here, we know when is he getting a chance to explain himself in terms of the charges that he is facing. The note by another honorable member, Ngithi uMasigo, if I'm Honorable Masigo, if ngingaphosisi, there is lento ebukeka iyimbi yokuthi siyashesha ukuqeda ngabantwana bese siyabambelela kothisha. It is because othisha, they've got ama-tricks abawadlalayo through ama-representations abo, which prolongs the whole process. And onke ama-processes, we wanted to finish HOD and give you a report by September. And for knowing ukuthi sesiyorana these processes. But because of the reasons that I'm saying, then othisha ke bayadiva, uyagula akekho, representative ayikho, and that is why mhlambe sithola sesila. But we're taking note of the caution committee elisho. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mgadi, 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm on the record. Okay, Chair, I'll be quick. Just to follow up, I want to understand the process, yes, Altonville, of getting him suspended, or the precautionary suspension. What led to that? Because there would have had to have been either a charge or something that would have then led to that decision pending the full investigation. Just maybe if you could walk us through what the department found, because the concern was raised by us who have been there. The department didn't really know about this. So was there someone from the department that was sent, and just maybe explain that to us? And then the last one now has frazzled me and I can't see my notes. No, I'll leave it there.
HOD.
I think just briefly, maybe Honorable Mgadi, I'll just indicate what the organogram is like at in this unit, in the infrastructure unit in districts. You have works inspectors. Those are technically qualified people who are specialists. But then there are managers above them. One is called, there's a chief and there's a deputy chief, but those are not necessary. I mean, there's a deputy chief education specialist and a chief education specialist. Those are not necessarily technical. These are managers. Now, what we found was that the technical person advised that we can't sign this invoice because from a technical angle, there's poor workmanship. It's not worth us paying. But the manager, who is Dube now, the immediate manager, signed off the invoice. The next senior manager did not see the invoice. So when the invoice came to head office, we did our own verification and we found that the work was not done properly and we didn't pay because of that. So what he's being charged for is not that maybe money was paid and so on, but is charged for not for unreasonably not or superseding the opinion of a technical person on something that even non-technical people could see that it was not properly done. So.
Thank you, colleagues. We have exhausted all our items. Thank you for the participation. We have come to the end of our meeting. Thank you, Fuze and your team. Sheng Togoza Kakulu and the officials of the legislature. We are still driving. Some they are going to Msinga. Some of us we are going back to Vryheid. Mtwana, she's going to Dandi. So Kika, you're sleeping home right today. Okay. He's driving to Newcastle in the area of floods. Our meetings are adjourned, colleagues. Oh, umntwana uthi izandla kayigezwa lapha ezantsi. There's lunch downstairs. Ndlule ngigeza izandla.
you.